ever felt like God sent you into a storm? Why that happened to me? I'm not ready yet. These kind of situations. But I am in the situation. That's exactly what happened to the disciples. Jesus made them get into a boat. He told them to cross the lake in middle of a storm without him. And in those dark hours, they learned the powerful lesson about the difference between living without faith and living in the faith. Living in fear and living in faith. How they difference, how they shape their life. In the Bible, how many times God tells us, don't be afraid or fear? In King James Version, how many times the words fear in the Bible? Fear is over 500 times, and word afraid appears 189 times. But the word faith appears 336 times, and the word believe 280 times. From the very beginning, Scripture keeps addressing fear and faith same time. Fear is always attacking us. Faith is always shielding us and protect us. The word fear, the feeling of fear, come to all humanity first before belief. Adam and Eve who hide in fear, Abraham stepped out in faith and obeyed God's call. They believed it. The message is clear. Disobedience brings fear, but faith is our pathway forward into God's plan and lead us into His blessings. Today's story begins after Jesus had fed over 5,000 people on the pasture. After that, once the crowd was dismissed, Jesus separated from His disciples and went up the mountainside to pray. Meanwhile, the disciples went down to the lake to take a boat and cross to the Capernaum, the other side of the lake. At first, the lake looks good to sail, but in middle of the lake, they had some issue. Though they were experienced fishermen and rowed with all their strength, the boat would not move forward to their destination. That's a problem. Sometimes our plan is not going well because of storm. They struggle against the wave all night, their muscles burning, the wind howling, the boat tossing in every direction. They couldn't control the boat. Boat is their life at the moment. Then, near down, they saw Jesus is walking on the water. All of them were terrified. But Jesus immediately spoke, saying, "It is I, don't be afraid." When Jesus stepped in the boat, something remarkable happened for them. Immediately, the boat reached the shore safely. In that moment, the disciples experienced firsthand that Jesus' presence is greater than any storm. Storm, okay, if we have Jesus, His presence with us. In this story, I want to raise two questions to think about. The first is, why did Jesus send the disciples without Him in the storm? Both Mark and Matthew tells us immediately Jesus made disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of Him to other side. It sounds like Jesus made the plan and pushed them to go, hey, go. He intentionally made that happen to them to experience the storm in the boat because it was training exercise to grow their faith. First-hand experience how Jesus is important in their lives. Without Him, with Him is totally different in the situations. We need to learn that idea from the Bible. Jesus is enough. The same truth is for us. He sometimes sends us into storms, not to abandon us, but to teach us. We may feel overwhelmed and cry out, "Lord, where are you?" Many Christians wrestle with these questions. But just like the disciples, Jesus is watching us from above, waiting for the perfect moment to step in with His power and His peace. I would call that satellite view. God knows every picture, big picture, but sometimes we don't know the picture. Philippians chapter 4:7 says, "And the presence of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind in Jesus Christ." That peace is ours because He always knows when and how He will bring us safely through the storms. God's eyes always on us. That's God's promise. The second question is more interesting. Why were the disciples terrified when they saw Jesus. As you know, Peter and Andrew and James and John had grown up in that very lake. They were not afraid about a storm because they knew how to handle that situations. But they are afraid Jesus Christ coming to help them. Christians, sometimes Jesus is come to you, not harm you, but help you. What make them trouble? The fear. So Jesus said, don't be afraid. I encourage you to do these two things when you feel overwhelmed and afraid in the midst of uncertainty. First, choose faith over fear. When we turn our eyes to see faith, still fear is behind us, but we are not looking at that. Second, don't be fooled by fear. If fear sometimes looks like real, but it's not. They exaggerate to you to take us down. Be still. Don't be terrified in any situations. When you look at the right direction, God will take care of you.